6:15, welcome back to Breakfast Television. A driver has come forward after a pedestrian was killed in East Vancouver.
A man has died after being hit by a car in East Vancouver early Thursday morning, and the driver has now turned themselves in.
Vancouver police are investigating a fatal hit and run that has claimed the life of a pedestrian.
It happened just after 3 Thursday morning. According to police, a 39-year-old Vancouver man was hit by a vehicle near Kingsway and Glen Drive. They say the driver never stopped, and they don't know how long the man was actually left at the scene before someone noticed him and called 911. The 39-year-old died shortly after being taken to hospital.
The information gathered so far indicates that the vehicle was heading east on Kingsway when it struck the pedestrian and then left the scene.
The driver, a 54-year-old man, has now turned himself in. His vehicle has been seized by police and he has been released for the time being. Police are determining whether charges will be laid. The investigation is ongoing. Anyone with any information is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. In Vancouver, Ashley Burr, City News.
There are new concerns about carbon monoxide levels in vehicles. The warning comes after a woman and 2 children were found unresponsive in Abbotsford this week.
Abbotsford police continue to investigate a crash Wednesday night that sent a woman and 2 children to hospital. It happened around Clayburn and Selden shortly after 8:20 p.m. When officers arrived, they found a woman in her mid-20s and 2 children unresponsive. Police say the investigation is ongoing and there is a possibility that carbon monoxide poisoning may have played a role. All 3 of them were taken to hospital for treatment, and it turns out carbon monoxide poisoning linked to cars is very rare, but it does happen.
A car is a mechanical device, and everything is going to fail or rust eventually. And with exhaust, a big part of that is rust. People don't really pay attention a lot to the exhaust, but it's very, very important. You have pipe that runs all the way from the back of the car to the front.
Wednesday night's incident comes just weeks after BC Emergency Health Services urged homeowners to buy CO detectors and inspect appliances following a spike in poisonings in homes and businesses. Earlier this month, a family of 5 from Barrier had to be airlifted to a Vancouver hospital, and in a separate incident, 13 people were taken to hospital from a Vancouver office building, also due to CO poisoning. And while we often overlook the family car, there are some telltale signs something might be wrong.
So as soon as you hear loud exhaust noise or you smell, you have an apparent exhaust issue. If this broke, you're going to get exhaust fumes going into the cabin. This is right under, the driver and passenger. So this is a big danger here. Then as we move along, closer here, this goes into, the back seat of the vehicle. Sometimes you're going to have rust here, and there's going to create a pressure point, and it could break here.
Now, although car exhaust has a distinct smell, carbon monoxide gas itself is odorless, tasteless, and nearly undetectable. The symptoms include dizziness, nausea, weakness, and confusion. In Vancouver, David Zura, City News.
At least 5 boats and several structures have been damaged after 2 barges drifted into Coal Harbour.
And we estimate the damage to be over $1 million.
It happened early Wednesday morning. It's still not known how they got loose and made it all the way from the North Shore where they were moored. Each barge weighs around 3,000 tons and is roughly the size of a soccer field. They're owned by 2 separate companies, but the 2 were tied together. A local restaurant has also been damaged.
I was pretty shocked, especially because it was so early in the morning and I guess it was dark, so not a lot of people saw it. So we were just really grateful that it didn't hit the restaurant harder or it was windier, and we're going to get it looked at a little bit more just to make sure there's no additional damage done to the building.
The Transportation Safety Board says the Harbour Air Terminal was also hit. The Ministry of Environment is investigating. They are out for blood on the streets of Vancouver. This group of 40 volunteers dressed in matching red shirts are hoping to convince people on the street to roll up their sleeves and donate. They say it's vitally important, particularly during the busy holiday season.
We want people to know that we're out here. It's cold, but we're trying to raise awareness for a good cause. And there's a lot of people that do need blood at this time, and it's an urgent need, right? Because blood, everyone's always going to need it. There's always car accidents happening, especially in the winter season. There's a lot of car accidents, and they're going to need that blood. But if there's not enough donors to donate blood, we're going to keep running out of the supply we already have.
Canadian Blood Services is hoping to fill 5,000 appointments in BC over the holiday season. Well, China has completed its first 100-megawatt solar thermal power plant. The plant in the Gobi Desert is powered by 12,000 mirrors that concentrate sunlight onto a receiver at the top of a solar tower. The heat collected is used to create steam during turning a generator like a traditional thermal power plant. It can generate power at nighttime using heat stored in the form of molten salt. I don't understand any of that, but that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounded pretty smart right there.
Very smart.
Gotta love innovation. Okay, Mary, thanks so much. After the break, we're going to keep things moving. And speaking of moving, touching tributes for Carrie Fisher, the late great Carrie Fisher. This musical tribute from her daughter, plus what Mark Hamill had to say 2 years after losing the great talent, and this clip from Sesame Street.